I just got home from Five Nights at Freddy's 2. I am not happy about this movie. Okay, I normally don't do movie reviews on my channel, except for, like, movies that, like, had me very excited and left me with, like, a massive smile on my face. Example, just Sonic Movie 3 and Superman. Because, yeah, the moment I got home, I made videos on those, expressing of how happy I was with it and all that. But Five Nights at Freddy's 2, what the hell was that? I'm gonna read off my review that I posted on Twitter, because my Letterboxd signed me out. So I just finished FNAF 2, and Letterboxd logged me out. I can't say much on it. As a movie, this was bad. As a FNAF fan, I'm glad I got stuff from it. But also, a lot of stuff just didn't give it proper justice. I'm glad we got jump scares, but they overdid it a lot. The set design and detail was amazing though, but it doesn't exactly save the movie from being the way it is. The first half was good for a sequel, but then the second half literally just let itself drag it on. Like, it's as if the first part was like, maybe just like, this is the final draft, and I think it's good enough, so let's go with it. But then, the second half kind of just like felt like that they didn't even try to like overview it or anything. I feel like no one double checked the script at all that Scott wrote, and it kind of just shows throughout the movie, because like there's like a lot of issues where it's like, I'm going to compare it to something that happened years ago in the horror world, but massive example is Stephen King's Shining. One of the best Stephen King books out there, and had one of the best adapted horror movies ever, but Stephen King hated the original Shining. And I'm using this as a comparison because Stephen King is a massive book writer, and Scott Cawthon really knows how to write those books very well. But when it came to the movie script, it was absolutely terrible. Like, the Stephen King's version of The Shining that was, like, aired on TV, I think, was, like, the worst thing people have ever watched. Except for, like, Jason Goes to Hell. Maybe. That's it. But I just feel like book writers shouldn't be really allowed to write movie scripts, because they don't exactly know what they're doing. And, like, I'm gonna say this, for the first FNAF movie, it had years and years of, like, prep time and, like, figuring out how the script is gonna work and all that stuff. And I'm gonna say this, I absolutely love the first movie, but the second movie, it just kind of felt rushed in like a regard. But I'm gonna say this, I am hyped for FNAF 3, but next time, I really hope they do it right. Please. If anything, let Scott do the drafting of it, and then just, like, let someone else write it, please. Because this is really putting a bad name to Five Nights at Freddy's, and just also video game movies in general. And I don't know if I will rewatch it, like, until probably, like, FNAF 3 comes out. Like, I'll buy the DVD, because I love collecting physical media, and, like, it's cool to have movies and stuff you watch, and all that. But compared to the first movie, this was just a rushed mess that should have had more time in the oven. And I had to give this a 2 out of 5. AKA 4 out of 10. 2 stars. And I'm gonna say this, like, the actors did really good. Well, mainly just... I feel like the actors were kind of done dirty with, like, some direction. I'm gonna say that Elizabeth, with her role of Vanessa, was kind of just meh. I also think it's probably also because of, like, her script in here, because it really messes up the character, I would say. Like, I can't get into spoilers, I did not like of how they had her in the movie, exactly, and unfortunately, the performance wasn't the best, and I think that's because of the script. Though, Josh Hutcherson did really good. I absolutely loved of how, like, of a good he was with the role, but I didn't exactly like in the first half of how he was written. I just didn't like exactly how he was written a little bit. Like, he was written well, but also just like, there were parts of him that kind of fell through to where I didn't like it much. Megan Fox, though, she was pretty good for the voice. And it's honestly surprising considering her role in M1K.
That blade's enchanted.
It was forged to destroy evil. It's slain many of your vampire kind.
We can't help what we are. That we feed on blood doesn't make us evil.
I won't really say much on Piper, because she is a new actor in the world of acting. So she hasn't really gotten to do, like, true acting roles, and plus she's still just a kid, so I can't really say anything on that. But I would say that she was pretty good for the movie. But now I'm just going to have to get to this. Alright, if you haven't seen the movie yet, I would say just like it's best time to click off the video. So, yeah. But if you don't really care for spoilers, or you've seen the movie already, go right ahead in this segment, cause oh boy! Let's get into this part. Starting off, Mike was more of an asshole than he was in the first movie. To, like, where he literally told Vanessa that he's trying to fix her, kind of. With, like, you know, going through all the trauma and stuff. And it was just, like, I didn't like it, especially of how he was, like, towards Abby a little bit, too. It was, like, I didn't like the direction, because, like, at the end of the first movie, Mike was, like, more better with his life, but it seems like he doesn't really change in personality. Like, I get that he's just trying to live away from what happened at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, but the way he was acting, I didn't exactly like it. Another thing, you probably noticed that I didn't bring up anything about Matthew Lillard. Yeah, that's because he was only there for Vanessa's flashback thing. But in reality, it wasn't even a flashback. It was just her trying to beat her demons, basically. And by the way, Mike told her to just do what he did when he was find out what happened to Garrett. Yeah, it'll just totally fix the issue of the trauma. Just to enter the dream. Oh, and she does it. Yeah, I didn't... that part was just a waste of time. And I'm gonna be honest, Vanessa should have stayed in the coma from FNAF 1 because of how badly she was written here. And you also probably realized, I haven't mentioned anything about McKenna Grace. That is because, in the only scene that she's truly in, she dies to it. Just, she dies to the puppet, and the puppet takes her over. I really wish I was kidding. Because both Matthew Lillard and McKenna Grace were massively in the advertisements for the movie. And yet, they were just wasted, like, oh my god. I will say that McKenna Grace was very good for what she did have, but it was barely anything. Like, she's an actual FNAF fan, and yet, they just, you know, kill her off. First movie that she's in. And also, I'm gonna mention this with the puppet. Oh my god, I really, really hate the puppet. I really hate of how they have the puppet in the movie. They just have her be a vengeful spirit that wants to kill everyone. And I mean everyone. And it's all because the few parents that she tried to convince that, like, hey, something's going on back there. Something bad's going on. And then just, like, yeah. And I am going to say this. I was watching this with my best friend, and they pointed out the fact that this probably was just in her own vision, because what if those parents just, like, were concerned about what was going on and all that stuff? Like, it's unrealistic for, like, every single parent there to just, like, kind of tell her off. Like, hey, this kid's being, lured. Hey, you gotta help me with this kid. And then, like, I think it's just a matter of bad writing. Though, they did give a really good shot with Charlotte's body, with being held by the puppet. It reminds me of a bunch of, like, of how some people just animate her body being held by the puppet in some animations. So it's like, you know, it's just cool like that. But the scene is kind of just, it's in between for me. Because, like, yeah, it was a really good scene at the start, but it was also just, like, when you bring it up later in the movie, it's just, like, it's stupid. By the way, the puppet, the entire time, Charlotte, was, like, the enemy. The entire time. Yeah. She was the villain of the movie. Unlike, you know, William Afton. They really screwed up the one thing from FNAF 2 that kind of just was really cool. And that being the puppet and lore-wise. Because the puppet is meant to be there to, like, help guide the souls. And not be a vengeful spirit. But no. She just wants everyone dead. Not even thinking about, like, who killed her? Yeah. Not even, like, thinking about, like, hey, I got killed by this guy. But you know what? Let's just kill everyone in the world. That was the plot. Oh, and don't get me started on this dude. Michael Afton! Oh my god. That was not Michael Afton. They just, like, were like, hey, let's just, like, you know, take the name Michael Afton and just make him more of a psycho, possibly, than his own father is. Oh yeah, he also just doesn't care that, like, you know, William killed Charlotte all those years ago. Like, he's like, welcome back, Charlotte, when he realizes that, like, you know, she's awakened again. But, like, dude, you praise your father, basically. You praise your family. But, like, you're teaming up, but you're wanting to help the person that your father killed. Yeah, that totally makes sense. Oh, and also there's just, like, a whole scene that just kind of feels like it's just MCU type of stuff, like, MCU team-up movie, like, I need your help. If you don't help me, she's going to die. So, if you really care, help me out, please. And then he just goes back home. And then, like, yeah, pretty cool segment happens. And then just, like, oh, they're all cornered by toy animatronics, controlled by the puppet. Foxy just honestly makes it cool. But then the rest of it is just kind of like, oh, okay. And I'm just gonna say this. This reminds me of that one old animation of the toys versus the withers, or something like that. And oh my god, it was literally just that. It was literally just that. Like, what is going on with this movie? Scott, are you okay? Anyway, that's really it for the ranting part of that. I think this movie's bad. And I'm really hoping they don't mess up on FNAF 3. Especially of how massive FNAF 3 is with, like, lore and all that stuff. And just, like, it's one of the most iconic FNAF games. And I'm really hoping they don't mess it up. Anyway, this is the Cyber, signing off.